What does it mean to be spiritual and not religious? When did you last have a spiritual moment? What about a religious one? What's the difference? And does it matter? I ask myself and all of you these questions because the work that I do occupies that in-between space. I've been a yoga teacher for about a decade. I witness people diving into their spiritual practice every day by watching them land in their bodies. In addition, as a religious studies scholar, I am keenly interested in the ever-changing nature of faith in our modern world. There was one day in particular when I realized just how much spiritual life in the public sphere has changed. It was the day after the Boston Marathon bombing, a Tuesday, and I had a yoga class to teach in the evening. Given the weight of what had just happened and the mayhem ensuing in our city, I spent the day concerned with how I could offer anything to my students that wouldn't seem trite. And I remember driving to the studio in silence, trying to collect myself, and half expecting to encounter an empty room. But when I got there, I was shocked to find a packed class. People were waiting somberly on yoga mats for guidance. And as we all sat down and I asked everyone to close their eyes, all I could hear were sniffles going through the room. So I began by saying, let's be together in our pain and in our breath and in our resilience. And then I led them through yoga postures, asking for muscular effort, coordination, and sweat. And by the end of class, I perceived a profound shift. Their eyes were a little brighter. Their shoulders had dropped. And broken hearts had lifted, if not mended. We sat there for a little while, more at home in our bodies and as a group. And after class, everyone lingered. This isn't typical. There was no rushing. There was no checking phones. It was clear to me in that moment that what was needed was connection. Our sense of safety, our sense of place, and the order of our city had been gravely interrupted. The yoga acted as a means of restoration. So what was that we shared? Could you call that a spiritual experience? Spirit comes from Latin, and it refers to breath or the quality that animates us. Spirituality relates to things held very special or sacred and is the inward quest for meaning in life beyond just the drive to survive. We all crave meaning in life. And so in this regard, spirituality is a universal human experience. Religion also comes from Latin, and it refers to a combination of reverence and obligation. Religiousness relates to organized groups, moral codes, doctrine. And historically, religion has been a way to distinguish oneself culturally. But given that not everyone has a relationship to religion, it's not a universal experience. So we'll look more at spirituality. Fundamental to spiritual practice is to consider who we are. Why are we here? And where are we going? In addition, spiritual practice gives us a way of centering ourselves when life gets overwhelming. I know that I feel more centered if I've connected to my place in space. Before I was a yoga teacher, I was a student. I will always be a student. And I'm also a millennial, a member of the tribe blamed for the death of many things, not least of which religion. Like so many in my generation, I was raised without much attention to spirituality and no religious roots whatsoever. And when I fell in love with yoga, it wasn't the spiritual aspect that seduced me. It was the workout. But as it became a bigger part of my life and became a daily thing for me, I started to notice changes in my psyche. The anger that had so gripped me as a young adult was softening, and I had become more introspective. It took me a while, though, to recognize the link between what I was doing with my body and the changes in my mind and how I saw the world. My movement practice had become the frame for my internal contemplation. And for hours every week, I stopped obsessing about the minutiae of my external life, and I nurtured my internal one instead. The more conscious I became physically, the more conscious I became mentally. Now I have the privilege of witnessing this practice and this process every day. Let's pause. Do you have any daily or weekly practices? What are they? Why do you do them? And what is gained from that practice? For some of you, it might be going for a run, a walk, a swim. Some of you I know are yogis. Perhaps you have a meditation practice or you journal. Maybe you're an artist. Maybe you're a musician. Have you ever thought of this as being your spiritual ritual? Could it be? Human beings are innately seekers. Millennials are often referred to as drifters. We are all just looking for a sense of groundedness within the fluctuations of daily life. The spiritual compass is that which guides us. It gives us direction. And it takes us from the periphery of our experience to the core. It coaxes us more toward behavior that lines up with our personal ethics, and it creates awareness in our systems of what's happening inside. Unfathomable events, terrorist attacks, devastating hurricanes, they've always brought the faithful to their houses of worship. And increasingly, they bring the unaffiliated to a different kind of cathedral. Mine happens to be the yoga studio. Yours could be a mountain trail. I call this secular salvation. And I argue that it counts just as much as kneeling to bow one's head inside a temple or a mosque, a church or a synagogue. So what's your spiritual compass? Close your eyes. Recall a time, a recent time, when you felt at peace, when you felt reset. What were you doing? Where were you? What was it about that moment and that place that created feelings of peace? It's likely that many of you didn't envision a traditionally devout moment. The cultural pivot away from organized religion is giving us space and permission to experience fluid spirituality. Running, biking, yoga, meditation, they've all become alternate sources of spiritual refuge, places that we can go for self-study. So what happened in my yoga class the day after the marathon bombing? People came together to reconnect to themselves and to one another. And that familiar lightness of being that I detected in my students at the end of class as they filed out into their night, it had come from spending some time out of one's head and into one's body. The physicality turned on the technology of self-reflection that we all so desperately needed at that moment. We live in a time of heightened anxiety and depression. Facebook and Twitter feeds, glowing rectangles, political aggression. All of this serves to take us out of ourselves. But just as religious practice has done for so many for so long, movement practice offers us a way back in. It gives us a means of landing in ourselves so that when we go back out into the fray of the world, we can go in peace, if not via the pew. So, what does it mean to be spiritual and not religious? When did you last have a spiritual moment? What about a religious one? What's the difference? And does it matter? I'd say it doesn't. What matters is that you have it, whatever it is and whatever you call it, and that you practice often. Because without a compass, we have no direction. And in today's ever-convoluted world, this is dangerous, and we risk getting lost. We all need a source of serenity. Thank you.